For those who have been with me on social media, hi, welcome. Nice to see you again for another round of wrap ups. But for those who are new, hi, welcome. Hope you enjoy this. So, we are going to be going over the best movies of 2024. These are the movies that I saw this year that I really loved. I really appreciate it, and I wanted to make a list, compile all the movies that I have ranked in terms of my favorites of the year, and just go through them and have a little bit of a description as to what I love about them. But before we do that, I want to give some honorable mentions. These are some movies that I gave 7 out of 10s for that couldn't make the list, unfortunately, but I had to address them and mention them because I still had a fun time with them. And if you ever have the chance to watch something that's at least good enough, these are the movies that I recommend. They're not in any sort of particular order other than just, I guess, release order, but otherwise, there's no one is better than the other. For honorable mentions, we have Kung Fu Panda 4, Roadhouse 2024, Civil War, Furiosa, A Mad Max Saga, Beverly Hills Cop XOF, Twisters, Gladiator 2, and Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohan. Congratulations on those movies. I enjoyed them a lot. It gave me a fun time at the movies while watching them, and I cannot wait to see you again at some point. But for now, let us now jump in to now the best movies of 2024 by me. Number 18. Religion. It's everywhere. You know how it is in this day and age. And sometimes, like me, I like to have a good laugh, especially at something that is mocking or poking fun at your said religion. And I'm gonna tell you, the Book of Clarence, it gave me that. I had a fun time and a hilarious time watching this movie really poke fun at Christianity and sometimes the ridiculousness of it, especially when it had to talk about the depiction of Jesus. And so, for the most part, I found myself enjoying this film. I had a good time, and of course, this was the first movie of the year, so I don't think a lot of people got a chance to watch this movie. But I found myself really laughing along and really having a good time with this movie, and I just couldn't stop laughing at just subtle jabs at the so called religion that is Christianity as a whole. Had a great time with it. Number 17. This is a movie that I feel like not a lot of people are going to know about, and some people may find this movie either boring or just pointless. But for me, I found some great and very dark and emotional moments with The Kitchen. If you ever have a chance to watch it, I recommend it highly. I think it's a great watch. But this is a movie that, of course, has to deal with social commentary about not just race, but class and gentrification, and how the system, especially in London, this is where the movie takes place, about how a government is willing to do whatever it takes to push people out and to ruin people's lives and to get rid of so many minority groups in that said community for the sake of building more stuff for wealthy individuals. And I think this movie did a really solid job at really depicting what it means to be in not only a really closed community, but really a community that feels lived in. And you can really see that throughout the movie, and it has amazing performances from the two main leads. Number 16. So who would have thought? We are now at the third movie in this franchise, but yet somehow Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it still manages to give fans, newcomers, whoever you are, just such a solid, fun time to enjoy a film about a blue hedgehog once again. And of course, Jim Carrey still shines the most. He's still amazing, still hilarious. Who knows if he's ever going to come back? If he does, great. But if not, then hey, at the very least, we got him for at least two roles, which he does magnificent at. And this series continues to impress me a lot, especially with the team behind these movies still trying to make sure that whatever they translate from the games, they can translate into the movies and not make it so that way it is just only purely for fans, but for newcomers to understand and hopefully find themselves enjoying a lot. And I had a really great time, especially near the end with Sonic and Shadow. That was pretty cool, man. I will not deny that. Number 15. This is one movie I'm kind of surprised did not do well, and it does kind of hurt me a little bit, and I wish it didn't. But let's just all, just at the very least, say The Fall Guy had a great time with it. It just surprises me that a movie with $100 million or even a little bit higher didn't do well. I'm just surprised because this movie delivered such a great time, and I do think that Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and even director David Leitch, they really wanted to make a movie about stunt people, people that do this for a living and are willing to risk their lives for the sake of entertainment for us to enjoy. All of our movies that have any sort of action sequence in any form is because of these men and women that do it. Now, as much as people can say, like, well, Zach, they still use stunt doubles in this movie. Well, yes, but it's still addressing the fact that these are the people that make these movies. Without them, no action movies or no action sequence in any movie can ever exist without these people. And Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, they had great chemistry in this movie, and I very much appreciate David Leitch actually showing his love and passion for that because he himself is a stuntman, and I found myself really laughing along and just smiling all throughout. Number 14. How is it that we reach this movie? And this is a movie that a lot of people were worried about because you had a trilogy that was so perfect and so good that how can you ever make another film in this franchise when you already have a perfect modern day trilogy? But for some reason, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it manages to still live up to that said trilogy. Who would have thought that in this day and age, Planet of the Apes would still be as popular as they are? Because, I mean, these were made in the 60s, and yet this franchise still continues. It's now over, I think, like 50 or 60 years old. And for this franchise to still deliver on such amazing performances, but really groundbreaking visual effects, as well as still building off of what those said trilogy movies did and continuing on with new characters as well as just still exploring the reimagined version of the original movies, I think is well done, and it has one of the best villains of the year in the form of Proximus Caesar, who I found really exciting and hopefully can return for other movies because, man, I loved him. He was so great. But in the end, this was another solid Planet of the Apes movie that I am hoping can either continue or if the next one doesn't do well, just stop there. Because it's always a gamble with these movies, and I'm kind of glad, at least with this one, they stuck the landing on it. Number 13. The action movies. We're all accustomed to them. We are all familiar with them. And I don't think anybody is surprised whenever a director wants to make an action movie, or rather, a first time director who has been in the industry for a little bit, but is now starting to make a splash as being a director and delivering on such an action packed movie that got me so hyped and so stunned on how much this movie worked. And Monkey Man was that movie. It is so awesome to see Dev Patel throw his hat in the ring as well as really pushing himself. I mean, this movie went through so many troubles being made, not only because of COVID, but also because of budgetary issues. And the amount of times Dave Patel broke every bone in his body, he kept going, man. And you can tell by this movie that this is a guy who was willing to do whatever it takes to get the movie that he wanted to make out. And he delivered on something that I found myself really fascinated by. It has some amazing action sequences. Sure, is there shaky cam? Absolutely. But can I understand the shaky cam feeling of the movie? Yeah, I can. And I really appreciate seeing a man like Dev Patel really throw himself into this world of directing. And I hope he continues this path. And I hope he steps up in a big way. And I hope he continues to have a very successful career going forward, especially with this movie doing really well for him, as well as getting praise for his efforts. Number 12. So Disney sequels. I mean, in this day and age, we're now living in an age where they're gonna just start doing sequels to their movies because a lot of their original stuff is kind of starting to weigh not so great in their favors. But at the very least, if you're gonna do a sequel, make it damn good. And by God, Inside Out 2. Who would have thought that this was a movie that would break me by the end? Seriously, this movie broke me. When they got to that whole thing with anxiety, her causing a panic attack in Riley, man, that got me. That really got me so bad. But it is so cool to see that Pixar can still deliver on an emotional, hilarious, but also really good time with a movie like this. Now, the thing that does kind of bother me a little bit is the behind the scenes stuff and the production issues with this, which sucks. It is terrible, but man, I still really love this movie. I cannot deny that. And it just delivered on something that I didn't think a sequel would, which was still break me. Pixar, you guys are some evil bastards. I'll tell you that because boy, you still know how to make me weep. Number 11. Rom-coms, I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm not a fan of the genre, especially with Hallmark just really regurgitating that formula and really driving that stuff right into the ground. I just don't like him. But then I heard that Richard Linklater himself was going to be making one. I'm like, okay, fine. But then you got Glenn Powell, him and Richard Linklater co-writing a script, and this resulted in Hitman. All right, let's see how it is. And wow, I was actually surprised. I wasn't expecting a movie of this caliber to give me something that I was actually enjoying. And yeah, Glenn Powell, damn, he's a good actor. He is so funny in this movie, but also he looks like he is having fun playing in these different outfits, as well as just really having good chemistry with his on screen counterpart. And they worked really well with each other. And I very much enjoyed seeing a rom com that wasn't just a stereotypical rom com. It was actually at times a comedy drama, but really it was just a fun time to watch Glenn Powell just having the time of his life and still showing us that he is somebody to look out for. He is somebody to still want in your movies, man. Number 10. I have never seen the musical. Okay, I never did. And I didn't know what I was walking into with Wicked. And who would have thought I walk out of it and be like, man, that was actually pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie, I was actually kind of impressed. I was like, okay, all right. It had some amazing performances, especially from Cynthia Erivo as Alphaba, and then of course you have Ariana Grande, Belinda, and I think those two together, you asked me, they were amazing, and I was really blown away by the musical performances as well as the story. I was surprised on how interesting, but also how a little bit political it got. I was taken aback. I was actually impressed. I wasn't expecting that from a musical of The Wizard of Oz. I wasn't. I wasn't expecting that. But yet I walk out of this and I'm like, man, I actually can't wait for part two now. In fact, I'm actually wondering if at some point there's gonna be a Wicked play here in Buffalo. I'm actually kind of curious because if it does come here, I'll check it out. Sure. I'll see what the original version is. But for now, I really like this one. Number 9. Oh, bike riding. Everyone either loves it or hate it. There's a lot of bike gangs out there who love and share their passion for that. And really, in the bike riders, they really deliver on that in so many ways. It really did show me what it means to be a part of biker culture and what makes up a family of that. And to see these people who aren't really necessarily terrible people, sure, there are some really bad ones. There's just people that just are misfits. They're just kind of castrated by society. They don't want them, and they found family in one another. And of course, you have amazing performances from Joey Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy. What more can you ask for? To see these three in this movie and actually feeling so authentic with its 1960s vibes was awesome. It didn't feel like it was polished or clean. It felt actually lived in. And I really dug the hell out of the fact that they actually were trying to make it as authentic as it can be, especially when it comes to the bike riding. And I found myself really dugging the hell out of it. And yeah, I just had a fun time while watching. Number 8. So A24, as of recently, or however you see them today, they've kind of lost a little bit of weight with some of their movies, and some of them haven't been hitting as much with a lot of movies. But I can at least say with this year, Love Lies Bleeding. Talk about a movie that actually felt so thrilling and so engaging that I was just glued and staring at the screen all throughout this film. It has amazing performances by Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, and then Ed Harris with that ridiculous mullet. But man, I had such a thrill ride watching this movie unfold and seeing how Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien, how they were going to escape or at the very least like avoid Ed Harris. Because Ed Harris in this movie is really scary, especially with that mullet. He can be one scary motherfucker. And to see this movie feel so engaging with its premise, with its plot, I was just really blown away, and I was really enjoying this story, especially for this being, of course, centering on a lesbian couple. It was cool to see that, and it was just cool to see them not play like victims, but in a way, just human beings, just normal people. Number 7. So, like I mentioned in the review, I don't know shit that much about this man, and I was never truly a huge, big fan. And even though I'm not like the biggest one, I can say that A Complete Unknown really made me love Bob Dylan's music and really appreciate him as an artist. You want to talk about somebody who was trying his best of wanting to break out of the system that he was in with regards to music and being told that he cannot do this. And this movie really does show the love and passion towards not just him, but I think just musicians who feel like they cannot express themselves any further than the genre that they're in. And it has an amazing performance by Timothy Chalamet, Edward Norton, Ella Fanning, Monica Barbaro, and Boyd Holbrook. I think they are all fantastic. But Timothy Chalamet, I mean, I'd be surprised if he doesn't get an Oscar nomination because really just embodies Bob Dylan to the core. That it's just, it'd be hard pressed if anybody were to tell me that he's not Bob Dylan. I'd be very hard pressed because he really convinced me all throughout this movie that no, this is him. This really is him. And yeah, everyone just knocked it out of the park all around. Number 6. So let's face it, Marvel, as you can say, has been not hitting always the biggest strides with regards to their movies. A lot of people have been either falling to the wayside with them and just can't catch up, especially with the TV shows and whatnot. But all I can say is this, with Deadpool and Wolverine, you don't have to require so much watch. I guess maybe Loki, but really that's about it. Because Deadpool and Wolverine delivered on things that I was expecting for this movie to do, which is give me a Deadpool movie that's rated R. I do not want this to be watered down in some way, and deliver on such a really fun and just all around awesome time to see this with a group. I saw this movie twice in the theaters, and let me tell you, the first time I saw this with a group of people, especially with my friends, it was awesome. It really was truly special to watch that in the theaters for the first time, coupled with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman teaming up for this movie. As much as I was worried about Hugh Jackman returning for this movie, I cannot deny they did win me over with it. And while I do think that there was so much stuff that was going against it, I still very much overall really loved this film, regardless on if the story had so much to juggle with. But it was a really fun, good time. Number 5. So the world is getting scary. Things are always heating up, especially in this day and age in our political world, and things get very dark and very depressing very quickly. And for a movie like Origins to come out, which even though you could say it's a 2023 movie, I put it on here because I didn't see it until January. But this movie does remind people of how it's more than just about race being the issue, in that is it's a class system, and how people abuse and exploit that to keep minorities, or color, or you could even apply this to LGBTQ, of feeling like they are confined to this class system of never feeling like they can never match or at the very least live up to human standards, which is extremely fucked up. And for this movie to really touch upon that and really deep dive and explore, like, how is this all connected from Germany to America to then India? How is this all connected in some way? And it's because of a class structure in all three societies. And for this to kind of still be the case today, I mean, it's really fucked up. It's really messed up to see, even in a world that we say that it gets better and we are striving to do more. In the end, this class system is always still, so many sad ways, is probably going to still be here. Unless movies like this really address it head on, things could get worse. But I really do appreciate this film for taking the strive to take an award-winning book and put it into this movie, and really telling people, hey, this is something that you need to know. And this is not something to just breeze on by. This is something that we need to take seriously. And for that, I respect the hell out of this movie. Number 4. Back in 2021, I took it upon myself to read at the very least the first 500 pages of Dune in preparation for Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Frank Herbert's novel, because, of course, David Lynch did it in the 80s, and that screwed up, and that was, if you ask me, really bad. But with that movie, Denis Villeneuve, he managed to really bring Herbert's world to life and really adapt it in a more faithful way. And so afterwards, I managed to finish up the second half of the book. Really loved the book overall. I gotta read the other ones. But in the end, Denis Villeneuve stuck the landing with Dune Part 2. Denis Villeneuve is one of those directors to this day that just knows how to get an audience to be in the world, immersive, and he knows how to make a spectacle of it. He's one of those directors, like a Christopher Nolan, that just manages to tell people, go see these movies on the big screen, because holy crap, it is such a gorgeous and just vibrant film that has amazing performances from everyone, with Timothée Chalamet leading the cast as Paul Atreides and delivering on such a finale that sets up things for Doom Messiah. But in the end, I think Denis Villeneuve managed to finish strong on Herbert's first novel, and I think most Dune fans will be satisfied with it. I know I was, and I cannot wait to read the rest of the other books. But for now, he managed to deliver on something that was truly remarkable. Number 3. As you know, I am a filmmaker. I am somebody who has always been passionate about filmmaking ever since he was a little kid. I have always wanted to make stuff future and for hopefully everyone to enjoy. And let me tell you, as much as this doesn't have to do with filmmaking, I can say this: Saturday Night, it really got to me in a way because of how much this is about Lorne Michaels, who had to prove to executives that I deserve a chance to tell a variety show. And it does not have to have this big grand plot or anything. It is just sketch comedy shows. And he had to convince everyone, his actors, his writers, the executives, to put their attention on this show is incredible. And to this day, Lorne Michaels is still the head of Saturday Night Live. If this movie shows you anything, it's that you can still do something. You could still become something in this world, and you can still follow your dreams, and don't let anybody, as much as there are people there to help you, do not let anybody, especially executives, tell you that you cannot make it or that you don't mean anything. Because if a movie like this can tell you that you can succeed in something, that's very powerful. And for that, I was blown away, and it really did inspire me, and it keeps my passion going of wanting to be the filmmaker that I want to be. Number 2. DreamWorks studio, everyone loves them. Every animated movie that has come out from them has always hit in some way or fashion, unless you're the boss, baby. But with movies like The Wild Robot, they could still show up and they can still prove to themselves that, hey, we are on Disney and Pixar's level. We aren't here to mess around. They took a movie that is based off of a book and made it still heartwarming and still, in so many ways, emotional, and very much delivering on such a very triumphant but also just sad film in so many ways. And it has an amazing performance by Lupita Nyong'o as Ross the Robot, and I very much appreciate that this movie does have this theme about motherhood, that you don't have to be a mother in order to care for a child that isn't yours. This could be in a way for adoptive parents, that no matter what, still love your child. And the things that Ross was willing to go for this goose, it was everything. And it was visually dazzling. And this may be the last movie from in-house DreamWorks, but man, if this is, it went on a high note. Number 1. So this may surprise you all what my number 1 is. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds stupid already, but just hear me out when I say this. I have been a fan of this series. I wouldn't say a massive fan, but just a fan. For many years, they have been screwing up with this franchise so badly, so many times. It even still hurts me after its release that this movie did not get enough love, and I wish it could, especially amongst fans, Transformers series. And that's right, Transformers 1. Listen, I understand. I could pick the Wild Robot, and I know I was going back and forth a little bit with the Wild Robot or Transformers 1, but in the end, I had such a fan-fucking-tastic time watching this movie with my friends in the theaters. It was awesome. We were like little kids while watching this. That's how much this movie was so fun to watch. And I'm telling you, Transformers fans, you slept on this movie. For those who did see it, I salute you. For those who missed it, shame on you, okay? Because this movie did not do well at the box office, and because of that, who knows if we're ever going to get a sequel to this thing, especially with Hasbro kind of now being a little bit stricter with their film license, with their properties. But if you get a chance, man, please do watch it. It delivers on everything that Transformers fans want. And for those who are saying, no, this doesn't, yes, it does, okay? I'm gonna shut that down and tell you no, it does, because it gives you something that you've been wanting for, which is all the Transformers, everything, what you know and love about Transformers, it's there, and it has amazing voice acting, gorgeous animation, it's all there, and I cannot believe that this movie did not do well, because man, I had such a fantastic time when watching this with friends, and let me tell you, I know it sounds ridiculous, but yes, this is my favorite movie of the year. I know it sounds stupid. I know it sounds dumb as boy. My list, I can do whatever I want. But yes, that is my best movie of 2024. Now, my worst of list 2024 will be coming soon. And oh, Well, that's gonna be fun. Because I can't wait to talk about some shit. So yes, look forward to that review and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.